be around in future years as much as it is now.
Stop crucifying queer! Doing nothing! Why did you crucifying queer? Why did you support the new catechism? Why do you support the hate? Stop crucifying queer! Catholic son, Vatican queer bashers! The Catholic Church is leave me alone! Shame on hatred and prejudice! The Church of Fear! Crucifying queer! Church of Heaven, Church of Fear! Crucifying queer! The Church of Heaven, Church of Fear! Crucifying queer!
Catechisms calls homosexuality intrinsically disordered, and the Vatican's made quite a few very anti-gay statements, actually refusing to condemn violence against lesbian gay people. So that's why we're here.
What does it feel like to be a volunteer?
It feels very empowering. It's very good therapy. It lets you feel like you're able to contribute something to society.
It uses up a lot of anger and a lot of energy.
Just a great buzz. It's just a good feeling to be out here campaigning for something I believe in.
It feels positive.
More people should be coming out and doing things like this and fighting for their rights.
I feel a great sense of responsibility to the next generation of lesbian and gay teenagers who won't have to suffer like I did if we have a higher profile.
In Britain, volunteers have been making their mark for a long time. They've shown that if you've got the nerve and your beliefs are strong enough, you really can influence things.
Peace, bread, work and freedom are the best we can achieve. Wearing badges is not enough. Days like these.
Been oppressed, if you're being discriminated against, you have to organise, and that's true for queers, it's true for old people, it's true for patients, the poor, the unemployed. If you're not organised, you get trodden all over.
It's called the ex-gay movement, and it's growing all over the world. In the USA alone, there are almost 100 ex-gay ministries, like the Life Ministry in New York. In total, the groups claim to have counselled 100,000 homosexuals.
4, 6, 8, can they really turn us straight? 3, 5, 7, 9, Christian hatred is a crime.
Last autumn, a Church of England minister, Christopher Guinness, set up a counselling course in Belgravia for homosexuals who want to change. Gay activists were furious.
Now, I think for trivialising murder and suicide, you're trivialising your role.
This is the latest addition to a growing number of ex-gay organisations in Britain, joining established groups like Courage and True Freedom Trust.
Campaigns of New Scotland Yard's Obscene Publications Department. The object of that department is to investigate the production and distribution of child pornography and the associated activities of paedophile inquiries into bizarre and deviant material and the investigation of major distributors of pornographic material. A great pleasure in welcoming you to join us this afternoon at 10 minutes.
I think there's a lot of talk of being understood and a lot of talk of pedophilia and smart videos, but what Michael King's law we should answer is, for example, Operation Sexual Crime.
Mr.
Sandy Powell.
Sandy Powell's first film credit was for Lindsay Kemp's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Her design skills were also used by Mick Jagger for the Rolling Stones World Tour of 1990.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank all the directors I've worked for, especially Derek Jarman, who's not here tonight because he turned down his award due to his objection to the homophobic and AIDS-phobic editorial policies of the Evening Standard. There are some members of OutRage. There are some members of OutRage here tonight who have distributed leaflets to you all, and I hope you have the time to read them. And if you want to write to the Evening Standard to request for better representation for lesbians, gay men, and people living with HIV and AIDS.
Well, the Pope must die, and the Vatican setting gave Sandy Powell an opportunity on the grand scale.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, Lord Lou, my gay friends, my lesbian friends, my protesting friends, my driver who brought me tonight.
Outside Haverstock School this morning, the pressure group OutRage gathered, ignoring protests from some MPs who described their actions as disgusting and diabolical. OutRage say they aim to counter anti-gay prejudice in school playgrounds, which they claim is driving pupils to suicide.
We think it's perfectly reasonable and right that all pupils should know that lesbian and gay people exist. They exist in almost every family, every school, every workplace, and that people should have an accepting understanding that homosexuality is a part of society and that those people are just as good as anybody else.
When it comes to sex education, I think that children should be given sex education against a background of morality and family life in accordance with the law. They shouldn't be offered a sort of supermarket shelf full of different forms of sexuality. I don't think that's what sex education is about.
Hello! The question tonight, which we are asking, is will injustice be done again? Do the police dare to use these laws in front of the press and in front of the lesbian and gay community? Do they dare, or are they only interested in using these laws against individuals picked up, alone, isolated, and These are possibly the last words we may say for a long time. But I suspect the police know, if they know what's good for them tonight, that they won't be using the laws in the way they usually do, to attack us and to ruin our lives. We must stand up now and say enough is enough. Tonight we turn a corner. Tonight we say no more.
It's 25. What's wrong with it?
Well, what's wrong with it is that within a very serious clause, 3 consenting homosexual offences have been basically made more serious criminal offences. It's a way of slipping something in by the back door.
So what could you do tonight that could get you arrested? What sort of things?
Well, we don't know. It could be anything from chatting somebody up in the street, exchanging phone numbers. Even if you wink at somebody in the street, that technically is soliciting somebody. It could be anything. That's what's so bad about the clause. It could be anything. Nobody knows, and that's why it's a demoralising, destructive affair.
Well, I think it's absolutely vital, and it's fabulous that there's so many people here. We're in a situation where, with Clause 25, the new government bill, gay sexuality will be recriminalised. We're going backwards rather than forwards. This country is already way behind everywhere else in Europe. I'm not certain about the Australian laws, but certainly in Europe. And, you know, we want to change this. So this is the demonstration, and we're handing ourselves in as sex criminals.
press has the right to interpret the law as they want. And whenever they get the opportunity, they have so far shown that they will basically decide against gays, queers, lesbians, alike. They never ever interpret the law to benefit the basic fundamental human rights of lesbians and gays. They will use, for example, laws left over from the last century against football hooliganism and rioting to stop us from walking down the street holding hands, kissing in public. And enough's enough. Today's the day that they've actually got this guy, the serial killer, or apparently so, and this shows up again, prophecy. They say that they will only interpret the law as it stands. They are therefore not in a position to exercise any authority to protect us from hate crimes. So the whole system is in a mess, and it's all lodged against lesbians and gays in this particular instance.
They've been horrendously ineffective. As Peter says, 5 murders down the line, they suddenly go public. And we're meant to say they've done a good job. Well, it's their inaction which has led to this situation.
The murders of 5 men, 4 of whom are believed to have been homosexual, has caused fury as well as fear amongst the gay community. This activist group has met to fight against what they see as police inertia in the face of gay murders. They claim that only 10% of forces even monitor anti-gay attacks, and the clear-up rate for homosexual murders is well below the national average.
Where these monitoring schemes exist, the number of crimes they record is probably a gross underestimate because of the lack of confidence in the police within the lesbian and gay community. A lot of people won't come forward, and I think it's important to hammer home this message that there is, there's an appalling stream of attacks going on.
There's been an enormous amount of anti-lesbian and anti-gay violence in London in the last few years, yet out of 68 divisions, only 6 of them have taken up this initiative. So this is by no means a time to celebrate our relationship with the police, we feel.
Day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. Gay stabbing, smooching, 7 queens, cavorting, 6 nuns, 8, 5 Congress. 4 heaven queens, 3 fairy fathers, 2 lesbian mothers, and a family beyond biology. And a family beyond biology.
We're always saying we're trying to destroy the family, and they're quite right, we are. But we have ways that we want to remake it.
MPs have voted to lower the age of consent for male homosexuals to 18. Outside the Commons, gay rights campaigners tried to storm Parliament after MPs rejected the motion to set the age at 16. There were furious scenes outside the House of Commons last night after MPs voted by a majority of only 27 not to lower the age of consent for homosexual men to 16.
Morning, there were angry scenes outside the House of Commons last night.
There have been furious scenes both inside and outside the House of Commons after MPs failed to back a plan to cut the legal age for gay male sex to 16. They voted to lower it to 18, but gay rights activists were furious. The doors to the entrances of the Palace of Westminster were closed as protesters tried to storm the building.
But there were scuffles outside the Houses of Parliament last night as gay activists protested that they wanted equality with the heterosexual age of consent.
This morning's top story is the decision by MPs late last night to lower the age of consent for gay men to 18. Some campaigners unhappy because they wanted it reduced to 16. That move was defeated in the Commons by 20.